Happy Monday to all. Let's see, we're here July 2nd, kind of midday. And we're going to do a quick, it'll be relatively quick Bitcoin update here. Now we've had a little bit of a move here, and so we might be able to put together a revised count here to give us maybe an opportunity for the next long side. Now I've got the 60-minute up here from GDAX here, and I'm just working off of this swing high up here. What was this, May 5th? Down to the, well, this is our actual low here. It looks like, well, did we get, well, pretty close to a double bottom, but actually it looks like my pivot's here. So that's June 24th. So, it's about 6 weeks downtrend there. So now, is it over? Well, we can't quite say that yet, but we have the ingredients here of a potential motive wave that could be the start of it. And it's, the character of it is looking a bit different, so that's encouraging in that we've got a fairly solid five-wave structure. The two, a little squirrely, but that has been the characteristic of Bitcoin, is that the seconds have been tricky. Now I'm working here down this, and I've shown this before here, so we're working off of the idea here that I have an A, B, C. Now I'm quick to tell you, I don't love the symmetry there. So, it's a slight pause, and it's not ideal, but I don't see any other way to count it that would make sense. But I can't ignore this 5, so that's either a 1 or an A. It's a nice little three-wave B here, but the symmetry here of the C relative to the A, it's not ideal, particularly given the shallowness of this B. So even if we were to kind of measure it looking for any sort of fib swing relationship from my 1, let's see if I pull this over, up to my proposed B, looking for anything relative that might be key here for my relationship here of the C relative to the A, and I don't get anything perfect. Now, of course, this median line here has been serving as a bit of a magnet here as the market has come back. Now this failure to make the median line implies strength. So that, then you see that reflected here. Now, but this, it's not great symmetry. So now that doesn't mean that it couldn't be a solid pivot and we're off to our start. Potentially, just that. It's just now the potential for a trend reversal. But I don't see another way to count it that makes sense here. So now so if we allow for this as our B, this 5-wave structure here has been very technical and quite solid. So if I look here from my 2 to my 3 and look where my 4 went, you can see here's our algo target here, and essentially we've double bottomed ahead of it before we had this reaction. So nice symmetry here from this B wave. So I got a nice 1, 2, 3, 4 down into the 5. I get 5 in my 5. It's all fairly clean. Now the double bottom, or technically this would be a truncated, because this is just a couple of ticks deeper here. Technically, we'd have a truncated 5th, but that's close enough to call it a double bottom. Let's look at that down here on a 15-minute. We can look at it a little more closely. So here's our algo target here, and then that median line that we failed to make it here. So this is, boy, what is that? It is really close. That's, maybe $20, $30 swing there between the difference. So this is our hard low. Now here's that 4 that I was showing you, and then here's the relationship within this 5th. So if I take this as my 3rd, so here's our 50. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we come up short on this, but that, like I've said many times before, just because there's an algo target there doesn't mean that's an inevitable, target for us. But it certainly was there and tapped. Now you would defer to the larger degree here. So this would be the target that it would appear the market is responding to. So if I take that off here, we can try and break the count down here. I can get a good 3. I've got my A, B, C into my 4 here. Now this, it's a little tricky to know how to count this. It could be a couple of different things. But I'm sticking with this because I like the relationships here. So if you see this, so I've got a 1, 2, and now this is kind of a bizarre 3. But so you can see, looking here. So I've got this. Sorry, I want this right on that pivot. All right. So you can see here, if I look from my 2 to my 4, this was very technical. So here's from my. So we go right to the golden zone. Now technically, if I've got these right on it, Let's just double check that I'm right on that high. We get like a 2-tick break of the 65, assuming I am spot on it here. So if that's my 3 into my 4, I go golden zone. That's close enough that I'm going to give that the pivot. So 1, 2, ABC. Well, it's kind of an ugly ABC. A, boy, it's tough to dig a B out of that. But then into your C. So I'm going to go with this here as my 4, and then it would appear that I get 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's my 5 down here. So I've got, this is my 1 and this is my 2. So yet again, right, so of course a very, very tricky second, but because we put the low in and then I get this reaction, I'm going with that as my 1, A, B, C into my 2, and then we get the big rip. So I think this is valid. Let me scrunch back up a little bit here. So I think that's a reasonable count. Now, working here, so if allowing for this, now this is a very deep 2, so if I allow for that as my 1, 2, that holds, I don't take out that low, and then I have this kicking in here. So we start building a case for this as a motive wave. So if I get here, so from my 2 low here up to this proposed 3 high, well, here's right to the tick. Here's my exactly where you'd be looking for it. Come on. So here I've got my 38 right here. And this little cluster, you can see this, how this little cluster, so you can see it repeatedly here. How we've got pivot, 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 pivot. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. That's tagged as resistance, and then boom, it becomes the support. So you see that coming down here. There's the 4. Then looks like I may have a 1, 2, 3, maybe a diagonal going in here. It's hard to call that top as in yet, although we can't ignore that that's potentially now just a little front run ahead of the algo target. Although there could be another kick in this. We can't say for sure. Now I did notice this to add some credibility to this as a potential pivot for us and potentially a top here. So if you can see, working from this swing low, so I get my 3 pivots. So here's the first move. So here's my 80% probability of getting to the median line. So I've gotten, and then getting here again. So excuse me. Sorry guys. Excuse me. So if we go back and we start to combine those. So here to my 3. So we get, a pretty solid hot box up here where I've got this combination zone here where I've got my algo target and my median line giving me a target here that would set this up pretty nicely as a completed 1 wave. Now we'll have to see if the oscillators are going to give us much to work with here. So I don't have, well, you could call it a double top here. That's not great divergence, but I do get better divergence down here. So we can see this relative to this here where we get a new high. So I do have signs of divergence that top could be good there. And then this little confluence zone here where I'm getting that suggests to me. So I've got a contender here now as a completed 1 wave. So if we put that in context, and we can't be sure just yet. But it looks like that's a candidate for a 1. We'll wait and see when we've got to start to move away from this to define that pivot. Right now, it looks like it's trying to put in a little ABC, and there may be another push up on that. But at some point here, close by, we're going to put in a pivot. So let me take some of this off here. So let's clean the chart up a little bit. So if that's a 1, now we'll just go to a higher degree. So allowing for that as potentially a 1, 2 is going to be 3, 4, 5. So let's get up to, minuet there. Okay, so if we look here, if that's going to be our 1, right, and wouldn't that just be gorgeous right on the right on the median line? So if that's going to be our 1, well, of course, same process, same thing, guys, every time. Every time. That's the advantage I'm trying to show you. Same thing every time. So what are we looking for? Well, here's the zone here. I'm looking for my hot box zone for my 2. I'm gonna be looking right down here. So can we get something to suggest I've got a correction underway that would give us something along these lines to give me a classic, we don't know what the shape of that is going to look like, but a little ABC would be ideal. To come down in here to this zone for a second. So if you did not catch any of this, which I can understand if you didn't, given this 6-week downtrend, but if you didn't catch that, And you had to see this. You had to been there watching for that. But this was very tradable from the 4 to the 5. You know, this certainly looks impulsive. And then we get this little ABC down to this just gorgeous support level here, and that was pretty textbook. So, but you know, there's plenty more to go if this is just the start of it here. So what we'd be looking for here now, of course, this would be going potentially much higher if we're going to get a good impulsive wave out of it here. So we need that impulse. So first thing, we've got to define this pivot up here. Then a little 3-wave down to a second. That will be the next buying opportunity. I wouldn't be a buyer up here, right, of course. So we want to see if it gets marked on, put on sale. Can we get a little retrace down here looking for that zone here, our hot zone here, trying to get an entry into what would be well, at this level here, this could be the third of the first. So if we were to go back out to a 4-hour and then put this into context, if this is going to play as a 1-2 and then we go into a 3, that's just so this would be, that would be the third of the first leg of it. All right, if we're going to go back all the way to challenge the high. So potentially now the ingredients are there for a decent start to a trend change. Not way too early to confirm that, but at least, again, we've got all the ingredients that we needed to suggest that we could have the start of a trend change. Right? How will we know? The next test as we retrace this and people that caught this look to take profit, this will be the test. Right? Do we hold into the golden zone here? Do we hold this or this wave 2 level? Now, Grant, we know that a wave 2 can be this deep, can be anywhere from the 50 to 786. I mean, hell, it can go 887. And we know that the wave 2s have been difficult in Bitcoin. So we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But so far, right, we're off to a good start. So with that, I'll just remind you to give us a visit on Twitter. We interact with our followers pretty regularly there and do a lot of promotions, and you get access to our public Discord. So if you're kind of curious about what we're doing within the members Discord, that's a way to kind of sample what we're all about, get some access to some of the public channels, interact with us. You know, if you have questions or comments or things that we can do to try and help you, that's a place to start a relationship with us, or at least evaluate what we can offer to you. So you can learn more about that over on our Twitter page, and our handle is Trade Devils with an S, Trade Devils plural. And you can always check us out online at our website. That's tradedevils.com. All right, guys, it'll be interesting to see how this plays, but we're off to a good start. Okay, back to you later.